The hand that changed everything. The rain fell softly on the streets of downtown Manhattan, painting everything in shades of gray and silver. Streetlights reflected off the wet pavement like scattered diamonds. It was the kind of evening that made people hurry home, eager for warmth and comfort. But Emma Hayes had nowhere to hurry to. She sat beneath the awning of a closed boutique, her thin dress doing little to protect her from the dampness in the air. Her bare feet were tucked beneath her, trying to preserve what little warmth remained. She had been sitting there for hours, watching the world pass by with barely a glance in her direction. Emma had once been different. She had lived in a small apartment uptown, worked as a bookkeeper, and dreamed of saving enough money to open her own business. But life had other plans. A sudden illness had drained her savings. Medical bills piled up faster than she could count. Her landlord had been patient for a while, but eventually, patience ran out. Now, 3 months later, she found herself on the street with nothing but the clothes she wore and a heart that still hoped, despite everything. Across the street, Alexander Bennett stepped out of his penthouse building. His navy blue three-piece suit was perfectly tailored, his shoes polished to a mirror shine. He was the kind of man people recognized even if they had never met him. At 35, he had built a technology empire worth billions. His face had graced the covers of Fortune and Forbes more times than he could remember. But success had come at a price. Alexander had spent the last 10 years building his company, working 18-hour days, making decisions that affected thousands of employees. He had acquired competitors, negotiated deals worth millions, and earned respect from everyone in the business world. Yet as he stood there in the rain, about to climb into his luxury car, he felt something he had not acknowledged in years. Emptiness. He had everything money could buy, but no one to share it with. His parents had passed away years ago. His few friends were business associates who wanted something from him. Every conversation was a negotiation. Every smile had a motive. As he walked toward his car, something made him pause. Across the street, beneath the boutique awning, he saw her. A young woman, maybe 25, sitting alone in the rain. Her long blonde hair fell around her shoulders. She was not asking for money or holding a sign. She simply sat there, staring at nothing, as if she had accepted whatever fate had dealt her. Something about her stillness touched him. Alexander had passed countless homeless people before. He donated to charities. He funded shelters. But he had never stopped. Never looked directly at the problem. It was easier to write a check than to see the human being behind the suffering. Tonight was different. He crossed the street, his expensive shoes splashing through puddles. As he approached, Emma looked up, her green eyes meeting his. There was no plea in her expression, no expectation. Just quiet resignation. "Good evening," Alexander said, his voice gentle. Emma nodded slightly but said nothing. He stood there for a moment, unsure of what to do next. He had negotiated billion-dollar deals, but suddenly, he could not find the right words. Finally, he reached into his pocket and pulled out his wallet. He counted out $100 bills. "Here," he said, extending the money toward her. "Take this." Emma looked at the money, then back at his face. "Why?" she asked softly. The question caught him off guard. People usually just took what he offered. No one ever asked why. "Because you need it," he said simply. Emma slowly stood up, her legs stiff from sitting so long. She was shorter than he expected, and even thinner than she had appeared. "I do need it," she admitted. "But I will not take charity without giving something in return." Alexander frowned. "You do not have to give me anything." "Yes, I do," Emma said firmly. A spark of dignity lit her eyes. "I used to have a life. A job. An apartment. I was not always like this. And I will not become someone who just takes without offering something back." For the first time in years, Alexander felt genuine curiosity about another person. "What would you offer?" Emma looked down at her hands, then back at him. "You look like someone who has everything," she said quietly. "But you also look lonely. I do not have money or connections or anything valuable. But I can offer you something simple. Companionship. Just for tonight." She saw his expression change and quickly added, "Not like that. I mean, just someone to talk to. Someone real. No business. No agendas. Just being human together." Alexander considered her words. What she offered was something no amount of money could buy. Genuine connection. No expectations. No hidden motives. "All right," he said, "but there is one condition." Emma tensed, waiting. "Just hold my hand," Alexander said, surprising himself with the request. Just walk with me for a while. Let me remember what it feels like to be connected to another person without a contract or a deal. Emma looked at his outstretched hand, then placed her smaller hand in his. His hand was warm and dry. Hers was cold and trembling. But as their fingers intertwined, something passed between them, a recognition that they were both lost in different ways. They walked together through the rainy streets of Manhattan. Alexander shortened his stride to match hers. They passed late-night cafes and closed shops. They did not talk much at first. The silence was comfortable, almost peaceful. Eventually, Emma spoke. She told him about her life before, her dreams, her illness, her fall from grace. She spoke without self-pity, just honest reflection. Alexander listened without interrupting, without trying to fix anything. He just listened. Then, to his own surprise, he began to talk. He told her about the loneliness of success, the weight of decisions that affected thousands of lives, the isolation that came with being at the top. He told her about his parents, and how much he missed having someone who cared about him for who he was, not what he could do for them. They walked for over an hour, two strangers sharing truths they had never spoken aloud. Finally, they stopped in front of an all-night diner. The warm light spilled out onto the wet sidewalk. "Let me buy you dinner," Alexander said. "A proper meal." Emma nodded, grateful. They sat in a booth by the window. Emma ordered soup and bread. Alexander ordered coffee. They continued talking, and somewhere in that conversation, something shifted. Alexander made a decision. "I need an assistant," he said. "Someone I can trust. Someone real. The job pays well, includes housing. If you want it, it is yours." Emma stared at him. "You do not know me." "I know enough," Alexander said. "I know you have dignity. You have pride. You have honesty. That is more than I can say for most people in my life." Tears filled Emma's eyes. "Why are you doing this?" Alexander looked down at their hands, still clasped together on the table. "Because you reminded me what it means to be human," he said quietly. "And I think maybe we can help each other find our way back." Emma squeezed his hand. "Thank you." "No," Alexander said, his voice thick with emotion. "Thank you." Outside, the rain continued to fall. But inside the diner, two lost souls had found something unexpected. Not romance, not rescue, but something perhaps more valuable: connection, understanding, and the beginning of a friendship that would change both their lives forever. Sometimes, the greatest wealth is not measured in money, but in the simple act of holding another person's hand and remembering what it means to be truly seen.